Welcome to the Mouse in Space podcast, a podcast about our favorite place to go and our favorite place to dream about when we're not there, Walt Disney World. Now, I've been thinking about doing a podcast for some time now, and today I just sat down. I said, I'm going to do it. This is really raw. There's no script. There's really no idea. I've just got a few things in my head. This is the first edition. I want all of you to join me in this podcast and send in questions, send in ideas for shows, and we're going to make this happen. But one thing, there's a lot of things happening in Walt Disney World right now. There's a lot of things happening. Pandora, the World of Pandora, is coming at the end of the year, the first of next year. We've got the Frozen, who is opening, and the Frozen ride at Epcot. It's a shame that we had to lose such a great ride in order to get a Frozen ride, but I always loved going on Maelstrom, especially the part, where you go over where you feel like you're going right over the fall, and it would stop, and then you would go down and you would see that huge drilling platform, and it really felt like you were actually in the sea, in the ocean, looking up at a real drilling platform to me. And then you would come in that little seaside town at the end, and you would unload, and you could explore in that little area. There was a little house there and a little shop, and it was really neat. And I could stay in there for 30 minutes looking at all the little details in that little area. So Frozen is opening soon, and we had to lose Maelstrom. For what I've seen a preview video online, and it looks like there's no water in the attraction. It looks like it's just maybe an Omnimover type thing, or some type of ride vehicle with no water, which, really, I love the water rides. That's one of my favorite things. I love water rides. That's really hard to see. Disney Springs is officially open now, and downtown Disney. I can't wait to see that area. Also, we have another track at Toy Story Midway Mania, and it seems, from what I've been reading, it seems that that has actually helped the track volume and the getting people through quicker. So that's good, because that's a ride that was really hard to get. It was really hard to get on, and it was almost impossible sometimes. If you didn't get to the park, if you didn't have a fast pass or get to the park quickly, you would have to wait, several hours to get on the ride. That's why I didn't ride it a lot, because even though I liked the ride, I didn't want to spend several hours waiting to get on that ride in the queue. The queue is really neat, and it's air conditioned, which is good, but I didn't want to spend too long. Another thing that I've seen the last few days on a Facebook page called Carousel of Progress Love. This is a Facebook page. Check them out and tell them you heard it right here on this podcast. Carousel of Progress Love have been posting pictures of the Carousel of Progress. It's getting this is the first I've ever heard of it until when I started seeing this. I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about it in the online communities and things. But the Carousel of Progress is getting a facelift on the outside. There's some really, really bright colors, and it's really nice. So you need to go in there and check that out. I'll put that in the show notes. I'll also, but it's got really bright colors on the outside, and they've also added some LED lights down at the bottom of the building, where the building rotates the bottom. Now, they're not, from what on this website, the person who posted this said they haven't been programmed yet, but hopefully they'll be programmed to change colors while the carousel is moving, maybe. I don't know, but I really like the color of this ride. And this is the one thing about them doing this much work to the ride is it's good news, because, for some time people have talked about the Carousel of Progress. It's time for it to go away, and it's time to retire the Carousel of Progress. And so this looks like we may have the Carousel of Progress stick around a little bit longer. They would hate to see Father go. I always loved going to the Carousel of Progress, and you walk in, and it's an old theater, and it has a certain smell to it. I don't know if anybody out there knows that, but it has a certain smell to it. Now, if you're listening, and you maybe I'm crazy, but is it a smell? Do you understand what I'm talking? If you understand what I'm talking about, if you get what I'm talking about the smell inside of Carousel of Progress, send me a message, send me a note. But it's just like Pirates of the Caribbean, but it also has a smell to it. But Carousel of Progress is a unique ride. It was one of the original rides And for what I understand, Walt Disney actually sat in the bathtub, and actually when they were setting the lighting for that scene. So I don't know if that's the original bathtub that's in there, or if they've changed it. But originally he sat in that bathtub, and I would imagine it's probably the same bathtub. I don't think they would need a new bathtub. But another thing that I've heard from someone on this same page, on the same Facebook page, hinted to the fact that they may be updating the actual attraction inside, updating maybe that last scene where it shows laser disc, you know, and people don't use laser disc anymore. So maybe they'll actually update that and get some HD video, maybe some 4K video screens, update that last scene, because that last scene really, really needs updating. And it was really meant to update every few years, and they haven't done it in a while. So if they could get rid of the laser disc, maybe put some Blu-ray in there, maybe show some more. I mean, they're showing virtual reality, which virtual reality has changed a lot too. It's progressed. So if they could put that in there, and also if you could send that in your show, and if you send me a note and tell me what you think they could do to the Carousel of Progress to make it progress. We need to show some progress in that, on that end scene, and I think if they could do that, they would really give this attraction more energy. Because when some people go in the ride, when younger people go in the ride and they see that, they're like, what is a laser disc? And you have to explain, well, this was really cool technology at one time, but people, we don't use that anymore. That's back in the, I don't even know what, 80s, 90s. I think I remember Laserdisc around the 90s, but I never had one. And in fact, I never really knew anyone that had a Laserdisc. So if you had a Laserdisc, you were something, I guess. But Carousel of Progress, a great ride. Sherman Brothers music and all that stuff. I just love going on that ride. There's some days that I think if I could just go to the park right now and go right to Carousel of Progress, I would just be really happy. It would just be awesome. I would just have a better day. But that being said, it's an old attraction, and I'd like to see it. I'd like to see more stuff done with it. I'd like to see that end scene revamped and refurbed and give a new energy to that end scene, because the thing about technology and the thing about that attraction, it could stay. They can refurb that attraction and give it new life, because technology is always increasing. And I think if they could just go in there and start changing it every few years and giving it new life and a new scene and updating some of the technology just a little bit at the time, they might find that they could get more attraction out of this ride. But it's a really good attraction. Go to that website, Carousel of Progress Love, and look at that. It's really beautiful. There's so many things happening in Walt Disney World. I was there last June, and a lot of things have happened since then. And another restaurant called Skipper Canteen. Actually, I heard Friday on Facebook, on another social media, that they were allowing for ADRs. And I thought, and it said, well, but from what I read, it didn't sound like they were doing it right now. They were going to soon. So Friday, I didn't even go on the page to try to get a reservation, because I thought, well, maybe they're not going to do it. But yesterday morning, I read on Facebook they were actually starting to do it. So I opened up my Disney World app on my phone and booked a ADR for navigation company Skipper Canteen, and in August for my trip. So I'm really excited about that, because it was really one of those things I just clicked on there just to see what would happen and see if I could, and it let me. So I was very excited about that. If you've tried Jungle Navigation Company Skipper Canteen before, send me a note and let me know what I need, because I've looked at the menu. The menu looks really good, and I can't wait to go there, because one of my favorite rides is the Jungle Cruise. I love the Jungle Cruise. I can't wait to do that. There's also so many other things that are happening at Walt Disney World right now that it's hard to keep up with, but it's a beautiful place. It's an awesome place, and people don't understand when I tell them, well, why do you go all the time? Well, it's a great place to go. And they say, well, it's just for children. I say, no, it's not really. It's for everyone. There's so many things there for everyone to do. And people don't understand. I was explaining to someone last week at work. One of my coworkers was talking about it, and I was explaining the difference between going to like Six Flags or parks like that. Now, they were great parks. Six Flag parks are great parks. They're good parks for what they are. Just like SeaWorld is a good park and Universal is a good park. I don't go to those because I don't really like them. It's not really my style, but I'm not saying they're bad parks. They're really good parks, and they've really put a lot of work into them. But when you drive into Walt Disney World, whether you're on the Magical Express or in your own vehicle, when you drive into those arches, you're going into what I call the bubble. I had another coworker tell me that he went last year, and the first time he'd ever been, a few years ago, and he said that he would always kind of wonder what the big deal was. His wife had been, so he decided to take the family and take his son, and he got back and he told me, he's like, look, this place is wonderful. He said it's everything is just everything. They know what you want before you want it, and it's there, and they have it for you, and it's ready. They know exactly what you need before you know what you need. Seems like some awesome. They anticipate the user need, and they know what you want, and they're always there. And even though you don't see a lot of the things that happen, it's going on behind the scenes to make it happen. So he was so fascinated by this world of how everything just seemed to happen when they needed it to happen or wanted it to happen. And he had also gone to Universal. And he liked Universal, but he said that it's just not Walt Disney World. And of course, I told him, I know this, but because I've been going a year, I've gone many times, and I've been to Universal one time and never went back. Of course, when I went, they didn't have Islands of Adventure and all that. That was right when it first opened. Walt Disney World is a great place, and we all love to go there. We all have special memories, whether it is the first thing you do when you when you get to the park, first thing you do when you check into the hotel room. I know one podcaster, I can't remember who it was, but said that he and his family would always go to one area, and they would always like have a certain place on this building they would touch, and they would always touch the same place on the building, and they did that every trip over at the land. It was the mosaic wall on the land pavilion. They would always touch this certain place on the wall every time they would go, and it was just their tradition. They did. Some folks try to go to the parks and try to run in and do this and this and this and get this done. I like to go leisurely and take my time and enjoy all the bits and pieces and nuances that are the parks, and that's the resort. You walk down Main Street, and just on Main Street, there's so many different things you can see. I tell people, it's like, when you walk into the park and when you drive into the resort, it's like you're on stage. It's like there's so many different things happening, and there's just little pieces of story detail and storytelling that people don't take the time to see. But I encourage all of you, next time you go, to take time to see the small details that make Walt Disney World so interesting. The Imagineers and storytellers and the people who put together these shows have spent so much time giving you details that some people don't know. People don't notice, but they're there. If they were not there, you would know something's wrong, but you don't notice them. So take the time next time you go and just look at the details. And if you just stop and look around, as Lou Mangello says, stop and take a look around and just take in what it is, I think your experience will be even better. You'll have an awesome experience if you can just take in the details. So anyway, another thing that I'm looking forward to this trip. Last June, Pirates of the Caribbean was closed, and it was really sad because I really wanted. That's one of my rides that I have to go on. Is Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. Some of the rides that I have, if I don't get to go on that ride, I feel like I haven't actually been there. But it's actually back up and running, and I'm so excited to see that. And because I didn't get to see it last year. I want to tell you a few things about how to reach me at my Facebook page for this podcast. It's not quite set up yet. So if you go on Twitter, SpaceMouse75, that's my Twitter. You can go on there and reach me. That's the best place to stay up to what I'm doing until I get everything figured out on here. Also, if any of you guys are going to be in the parks in August, the 1st of August, email me or message me. Maybe we'll do a meetup if anyone wants to do that. I'd like to do pin trading, so if anyone is interested in that, just let me know. Twitter is SpaceMouse75. You can reach me there on Twitter. I'll let you know what my Facebook is set up. I'm still working on that right now. So, I just want to close this podcast with a few encouraging words. If you were able to see another sunrise and sunset, you were blessed with one more day on the spaceship Earth. Don't forget to live every day to its fullest and help someone else along the way. Sharing a positive word or just a smile can go a long way. Until next time, this has been the Mouse in Space podcast.